Hey everybody, welcome to a special reaction reviews. Today we're going to be watching the final trailer for Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. It's premiering on Friday Night Football, Monday Night Football, between the Jets and, what's the other team? The Jets and the Patriots. And so I'm not watching the football tonight. I'm not a big sports fan, but I am waiting on YouTube to see the trailer drop. So first we're going to go ahead and watch the footage that was released over the weekend on Saturday. And we're going to take a look at it right now. And then after that, then I'll go through my first time ever for me on this channel, my top 10 Star Wars films ranked in order. And then after that, we'll watch the final trailer that's premiering on Monday Night Football. So let's go ahead and watch now. This is the teaser trailers that they dropped, or TV spots, whatever they are, that they dropped over the weekend. All right, let's go ahead and watch it now. Okay, there's Rey and Leia, the Falcon. Okay, that was footage we've already seen. Okay, now this is different. Close-up of the TIE Fighter. Okay, now here's another one. There they are, all in the cockpit. Alright, so here's my top 10 Star Wars films ranked in order, and this is subject to change. Some of them, especially around the middle, I can kind of go either way with them, so this isn't definitive, but this is the first time I've ever done this, tried to rank the Star Wars films. So why don't you go ahead and comment down below whether you agree or disagree with my list, why you disagree with it or agree with it, and post your own list if you want to. And if you actually did a video of your own list, go ahead and link that down below also so we can see your video. Also, we're getting ready to react to the new Rise of Skywalker trailer. So if you did a reaction to it as well, comment down below and post a link to your video, and we'll go and watch your reaction too. Anyway, coming in at number 10 is Solo, A Star Wars Story. That was the one that I actually fell asleep watching. Honestly, I couldn't get past the casting of Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo. With the new technology coming out with the deep fakes and everything, I've seen some pretty amazing work that they've done ever since they did the Tarkin thing with Rogue One and with Leia. They weren't perfect, but they were pretty darn good. And now the technology is advancing even farther. In a few years, I imagine the technology is going to be so advanced that they'll be able to do a new cut of Solo with de-aged Harrison Ford playing in the role as Han Solo, superimpose his face over Alden Ehrenreich. In that case, I'd go back and watch it, and I imagine if they do it right, it would possibly go up quite a bit on my scale, and I'll watch it again. I'll actually watch it again the way it is with Alden Ehrenreich in it. But as it stands right now, it's either at number 10 or number 9. Would have been tying with The Last Jedi, which comes in for me on this list at number 9. I really didn't like The Last Jedi. I loved the first half of it. I loved the special effects. I loved a lot about it. I have to give credit where it's due. There was a lot of the production and that went into the movie that was just amazing. But the story writing, some of the plot lines and stuff really lost me. And as a standalone movie, it just fell apart on so many levels. I was very disappointed in it. That would be either number 9 or number 10. Solo and Last Jedi are my two least favorite Star Wars films of all time, not counting, of course, the the Ewok movies and the droid stuff and the stuff like that in the holiday special. But anyway, coming in at number 8 is The Phantom Menace. I enjoyed it when it first came out, but it didn't really stand the test of time. There was a lot that really was wrong with it. Jar Jar Binks being a big one. some of the dialogue with young Anakin and stuff, but I did love the way that they set up the politics of it with Palpatine's rise to power. And as soon as we saw him come on screen, I knew immediately that he was the Emperor. And a lot of people didn't catch that till the end. Some people didn't even catch it until later on in the prequels. But I picked up on that right away when it came out. As a diehard fan of Star Wars, that was one thing that really impressed me, was how they were tying that all together. Coming in at number 7 is Rogue One. I actually loved Rogue One when it came out. When I first saw it, I was ranking it in my top 2 or 3 Star Wars films, right up there with Empire Strikes Back. But looking back on it, the characters weren't that, they were almost forgettable. And that's where it falls apart for me, where they went and introduced all new characters, and the character development was somewhat lacking. So looking back on it now, a few years later after it came out, it has fallen a little bit on my scale. I still love it. I love that closing scene with Darth Vader, which in retrospect, I ranked it so high simply because of that scene. That one scene was just phenomenal. It was amazing. It was, as I said at the time, that one scene was worth the price of admission. So I loved Rogue One, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it fell a little bit on my scale as compared to all the other films. Coming in at number 6, Return of the Jedi. This is the lowest ranking one of the original trilogy films for me. I loved aspects of it. The final confrontation with Vader and the Emperor was just amazing. The opening scene in Jabba's palace was amazing. The Ewoks was kind of a setback for me. As a child, I didn't mind them that much. But as I get older, the Ewoks just really are kind of a setback for me in the ranking on that. Then number 5, Attack of the Clones. Now, Attack of the Clones gets a bad rap for specifically for the portrayal of Anakin as this crybaby, snowflake sort of personality where he's all lovey-dovey and crying all the time and stuff. And, the wistful lover sort of thing. The romance in it was a little bit much. But the first half, the first opening segment of Attack of the Clones was just phenomenal for me with the race through Coruscant. I absolutely loved that. That was like one of the best scenes for me in all of Star Wars history. And so that moved that up on my list because of that. The closing scene, the battle with the clones, where they introduced them, that was an epic battle, but on the scale that it was a little bit big, and so you lost some of the amazement and wonderment it was used to sacrifice some of the character development and stuff. So you really didn't have a lot of character development in that last scene. It was just too big of a scale, I think, for me. Number 4, The Force Awakens. Now, I absolutely loved it. I loved the nostalgia. I loved that they used the original cast, had them coming back for it. There were a couple directions that they went with it that I really didn't care for, but they had set it up to be a lot of that stuff to be answered in the next installment. And the reason why, one of the main reasons why The Last Jedi was such a failure for me is because it failed to follow up on a bunch of those, and in fact, it seemed to contradict a lot of them. And so, depending on how this episode 9 comes through, when it comes out, the questions that it answers and how it resolves some of them may affect where The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi fall on my list in comparison with those. But as standalone movies, this is where they fall on my list. Number 3, the original Star Wars, later retitled A New Hope. Now, that may seem sacrilege for a lot of you that it's not in the top 1 or 2 on my list, but it falls in at number 2 because while I love the first half, the last section of it, the space battle, I'm not a huge fan of the space battles, and that's just me. You lose a lot of the personal touch of it. You lose track of who's who. I'm not the type of person where I can follow and identify which ships are which, except, of course, for the Millennium Falcon, which is so iconic. But I see all these TIE fighters and X-Wings and Y-Wings, and I couldn't keep track of who was in which ones, and especially when they had the helmets on their faces, I couldn't tell who the characters were half the time. And so you have to watch it back over again several times in order to follow the plot and figure out who just got killed and who's doing what. And so the space battle at the end wasn't my cup of tea. So that's why it falls in at number 3 on my list. Number 2, Revenge of the Sith. And again, that may be sacrilege to some of you that I put a prequel movie so high on the list, but I loved the way that they tied it into the Skywalker saga and finally explained, brought it full circle as to how Anakin started out and then rose to power and became Vader, and just the whole tragedy of it was not lost on me. And so I thought it was brilliant. I loved it. And the darkness of it that they followed through with Rogue One was very reminiscent of that to me. And I loved that dark aspect of it because without the darkness, you can't see the light. And so that was a big, important part of the saga for me. And then, of course, number 1, Empire Strikes Back, will probably always be my favorite of the Star Wars films. I love the first half with the introduction of the AT-ATs. As a kid, they were reminiscent of dinosaurs, and then looking back on them, just seeing that technology, the huge towering walkers coming against them, and then how they defended themselves against that. The training on Dagobah, the introduction of Yoda. I've always been a huge Muppets fan. Jim Henson and Frank Oz, they're heroes to me, and so that was a huge thing for me. And of course, the epic confrontation at the end where Vader finally revealed his secret to Luke. And, at the time when we watched it the first time, we were all wondering, is it true? Is he lying? And, of course, that brings us to now with The Last Jedi. They've told Rey who she is. Well, is it true? Is Kylo lying? Is Snoke manipulating them? We'll find out here in a few short months. So, which brings us to the moment we've all been waiting for, the final trailer for The Rise of Skywalker, which is about to be released at any moment now on YouTube after Monday Night Football. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now, and I'm going to bring it up as soon as it drops and add it on here, and we'll go ahead and watch my reaction. All right, here we go. We're back. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. This is it. It just dropped, and this is the final trailer for Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, coming out in December. I'm not going to delay anymore. I'm anxious to see this, so let's go ahead and watch it now. And here it is. Okay, it's a jungle atmosphere.
It's an instinct. Feeling.
Okay, looks like she's training.
The Force brought us together.
That's good.
We're not alone. Good people will fight.
There's
if we
Rose.
leave them. People keep telling me they know me. No one does. But I do.
That's cool.
Have I waited?
That reminded me of Cloud City,
And now
except in ice.
you're coming together.
Well, so Palpatine is orchestrating this. I knew it.
Is your undoing. What are you doing there, 3PO?
Taking one last look, sir. At my friends.
Kind of appropriate for the closing chapter.
It's the destiny of a Jedi.
Say fear is the destiny? We're overcoming fear.
Your destiny. The Force will be with you. Always.
All right, so I gotta admit, I'm anxious to see this. I don't know how excited I am about it, but yeah, this is looking good. Let's go ahead and talk about this a little bit. Okay, now the first part, it talked there. It showed Rey on training. Now, I think that's important that they're showing that she's doing additional training. That was one of our big issues with the Last Jedi, was that that she seemed like a Mary Sue, that she was able to do so much without really doing any real training of significance. And so if they show that she's still doing training and advancing her skills, then that will help to fix that and to alleviate some of our concerns about her being a Mary Sue and just being a hero for the sake of being a hero without earning the title of a hero, earning the title of a Jedi, or in this case, the title of a Skywalker, as it seems they're doing here. Now, again, I don't like the idea that they're using Skywalker as a title. I hope that they do reveal that she is a Skywalker in reality, in some fashion, whether it be that she's cloned from Luke's hand, which is what I think is going to be which is going to happen. I think they're going to reveal that without going into too much detail, Palpatine has orchestrated this all along, ever since Episode 1. His own death, his own resurrection, reincarnation, if you will, through other personalities, whether Snoke was actually one of his incarnations. I don't know, but that would make sense to me that, he was manipulating all this so that through the Force, he would be able to come back stronger than ever, kind of like Obi-Wan warned Vader. If you strike me down, I will be more powerful than you can imagine. Well, that's because the Jedi and the Sith both were seeking ways to find power in the next life, in the Force. And Obi-Wan found that. Qui-Gon also found it. And Yoda found it. And then they came back through the Force to help the others around them. That's the same thing, I think, that Palpatine and the other Sith throughout history was looking for, was that ability to cheat death. And I think, by him having his apprentice strike him down, that ultimately was part of how he was able to achieve the next level in the life of the Sith, which would be the afterlife through the dark side of the Force. Now, with him coming back in Episode 9, it's going to show that, I believe, that he has manipulated this the whole time and created Rey, or manipulated her in some way so that she would eventually fall to the dark side and be able to usher in his new empire. And I think it's going to backfire on him because she's not going to fall to the dark side. It would be kind of interesting if she did, and ended on a dark note like the first trilogy did. But I have the feeling that it's going to end on a positive note like the original trilogy did. Not the prequels, but the original trilogy. And so, it did show Rose Tico. And so, while she's not one of my favorite characters, I do hope that they bring her back just long enough to explain that she was a First Order mole the whole time. That, that way I would have justification for hating her character that, we're meant to, because she was sabotaging the resistance the whole time. And I just wanted them to bring her back long enough to explain that adequately. And it's just so that we won't always be hating her just for the sake of being a poorly written character, but because we were intended to hate her. I love that they're bringing back Lando Calrissian. That's a huge thing. I didn't notice that they really featured him any in this trailer, but they did in the one previous. But I hope he has a decent-sized role in this. I'm interested to see what they do with Leia, with the footage of Carrie Fisher, how they resolve her character arc. But I do want to see the legacy characters really go out with a bang on here. I want to see them done justice, whether it be Luke, Leia, Lando, all of them. I just want them to be done justice, not just forgotten as side characters in the trilogy. The scenery looks really nice, really cool. Like I mentioned there, that it looked like a Cloud City, except made of ice. So that was kind of an interesting take. The scenery in the first scene there reminded me a little bit of Endor, being a forest type atmosphere. I hope it's not Endor. I don't want to see them go back to the same planet. But I do like the idea of diversifying the planets that we get to see, and giving us something creative and new. Anyway, that's my reaction. Go ahead and comment down below what you guys think. I hope you enjoyed my reaction. Be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Don't forget, if you subscribe to my channel, you're eligible to win that Star Wars graphic novel that I'm giving away, trade paperback, free. When I reach my 100th subscriber, I'm going to give that away free to a random subscriber. So watch either episode 1 or episode 2 of this season of Reaction Reviews for details on how you can do that and what you need to do to qualify. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time, and may the Force be with you all.